I will be a defender of my planet, united with friends. I will save the earth.
As Commissioner of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, I was elected to protect the water environment. It's a job that never ends, and we encourage and rely on the help of others to accomplish our mission. When I decided to honor an organization that provided exceptional leadership in protecting our water environment, one organization rose above the rest. That organization is Annunciation of the Mother of God Byzantine Catholic Church under the exceptional leadership of Father Thomas J. Loya. They had a vision, and their vision for Annunciation Byzantine Catholic Church is that of a church in a natural environment. Deuteronomy chapter 11, a living land that grows with the people who care for it and love it. I will give the seasonal rain to your land, the early rain and the late rain, that you may have your grain, wine, and oil to gather in. And I will bring forth the grass in your field for your animals. They have water as a resource. Water is recognized as one of the key concerns for the future of our world. Green roofs, permeable paving, vegetated swale, and other plant systems are being used to remove the pollution that rain washes off our street. They have a green practices by showcasing innovative stormwater management, energy conservation, and environmental stewardship technique. They have a natural setting. The interaction of these landscapes, gardens, plazas, trails, prairies, and wetlands will allow for individual interpretation of the relationship all people have with the outdoors since the beginning of time. Congratulations, Father Loya, and I'd like to present you with this plaque, Excellent in Protecting Our Water Environment.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Yes, it was a pleasure to find what your church is doing. And do you have any words to say to our audience?
Well, it's certainly an honor to receive this from you. On behalf of my parish, myself personally, I want to extend our gratitude and to let you know how honored we are, because we are a church, of course, and what we have done with the environment grows out of our spirituality as a church, of our faith, our religion, but it is designed to serve the community, to make an impact in the community. And so for the community to award us this and to acknowledge that and affirm that is very exciting and thrilling for us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, the reason why I chose your church is that you're talking about the environment, but you're also implementing it.
Yes.
And it's demonstrated in you have 10 acres out there in Homer, Illinois, and in those 10 acres, you have demonstrated what a green practice can be accomplished.
Yeah, that's not only are we doing it, and there were challenges, at the beginning and so on, and still are, but it's going very well. But the other part of it too is that we can be a kind of a source of encouragement for others, because a lot of people come around and they ask us how we did it and what things we face, what challenges we face and still face, and sometimes they really want to get involved, but they're a little timid, or maybe it's a matter of finances, it's a matter of just knowing what to do, it's a matter of how far to go, it's a matter of what about the neighbors. A lot of it, big question is in re-educating the neighbors, because it's a different way of perceiving landscaping. It's not necessarily your traditional suburban turf grass and concrete and asphalt and controlled garden kind of concept of landscaping. So it takes kind of a reconfiguring of our idea of natural beauty. And so that's actually a big part of it. And they oftentimes ask me, well, how do the neighbors react? How do the parishioners react to it? And all that actually went, for the most part, very well. And oftentimes, once people start to see and experience it, they really start to become converted to it. And it's one of those things where you ask yourself afterwards, gee, why didn't I do this before? I wish I knew then, what I know now.
If the whole world could implement what you're doing, and do you find that there's a place for politics and religion to get involved in the environment?
Yes, there is, and it works this way, Commissioner. The church is, the purpose of the church, the role, the mission of the church is to help to inform reason, to help those in position of politics and government and so on, who are going to make decisions and enact legislations to help them to inform their reasoning process, not for the church to directly be involved in politics or to be partisan, but to actually help those who are in government, who do have the responsibilities, to be very informed in their decision making, in their legislation. So when they bring these issues to the table, when they are going to enact these laws, they do so with a well-informed conscience, as it were. And the job of the church, the role of the church in terms of the state, is to work closely with the state, but in terms of informing and encouraging, not in terms of getting involved directly in politics.
You know, and the reason why I pose this question is that I'm the commissioner at the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago, and we deal with the water environment. And I find now that we're having a little conflict between the environmental groups, the engineers, the scientists, and politicians on what is the best way to solve our problem. But I think and it's a big conflict right now. And if we go one way, we have to spend a large amount of money. And I feel that the religious group have to come in and sit with us to resolve the best way to spend the limited amount of money we have to solve the biggest, have an impact on society.
Right.
And that's the key. That's so have you ever thought of that, of getting involved with groups like that?
No, absolutely. Because, in fact, I think, I'm not saying this because I'm biased, but I do believe that it is religion, it is faith-based, it is churches, it should take the leading role in this. And the reason I say that is because, just as you're saying, this requires a very integrated approach, because there's a lot of disciplines involved here. There's engineering, there's money, there's development, there's the environment, and so on. So to bring all those together, to integrate all that, you need a kind of an overall worldview, as it were, an overall kind of I'll call it a spirituality. In other words, what will work best for the common good, not for just this interest, that interest, but what will work best for the common good. It's a kind of arriving at a certain sort of, as we say out where I am in Homer Glen, we say it's community and nature in harmony. In other words, a developer can get what they want. Engineers can get what they want. Environmentalists can get what they want. We can all get what we want and need, more so what we need. But we have to do it with a kind of an integrated worldview, and a worldview that looks at what will work to the common good, the good of all. And it's going to be compromise, and no part of it's going to be perfect. But the compromises that we come to will offer immense progress. It'll be an immense improvement of what we have now.
And you know, we're facing now. As we're taping this show, this morning I got up and I turned on the TV, and I find out that we're having a market crash throughout the world. I find out that here in the United States we had to bail out $700 billion, and so this is all money that needs to make our banks survive. But we also need to be talking about how to make our environment survive. And that may not take as much money as required to save the stock market or the banks. If we only implement what you implemented at your parish. It's like you had a vision. Right. And what was your vision? I mean, you went out one day and you saw something and said, hey, I could turn this into an environmental place for our church where everyone could benefit.
Yeah, I think, Frank, the key word, I could sum the whole thing up in the word honesty. Honesty. Being honest to who we are as church. Realize that we were a church. Where this all started was we realized we as church are to be a contributing element to the community. We're supposed to help the community, be a stabilizing force and a force that makes positive contributions to the community. And we knew that the community that we were in, that our church was in, when we built this church, had some problems. They had water problems. They had some environmental concerns. Well, we chose to correct those things, to actually help the community. So in that regard, we believe that we were being honest to who we were as church. A church is supposed to be a positive presence in a community. So we actually went outside of ourselves, as it were, and engaged the community to do this. We did this for the community at a great expense to ourselves. We did it for them. It was a gift to the community. And secondly, what we did is particularly, as you said, we looked at the land and we said, well, what would be true to this land here? What are the waterways? What's happening here? What is the indigenous vegetation here? What would be the honest approach to the environment of this region? And that's how we approached it. We approached it with that word, basically with a kind of a spirituality of honesty, being honest to the environment, to the natural order of things, and honest to who we are as church, being honest to our neighbors, to our community, to what we're supposed to be about. And you know, that's what works. The stock market crashed. We have all these problems now because there's a lot of dishonesty in the way we approach things. We don't have the correct view of what something is, and so we approach it in a way that's not honest to its own nature. And that, whether it's environment or it's the economy, it comes from a fundamental worldview. I like to call it the Sacramental worldview. In other words, where you see how things are ordered. You see how they work, whether it's nature, whether it's finances. And you approach those things then with a certain honesty to what they were, to how they work. See, when we don't perceive how something works, how it's ordered, how it's inner dynamism, what it's made up of, whether it's finances, environment, human person, whatever. When we don't do that, then we don't know how to approach those things correctly. So we mess them up. We get into trouble, and eventually it backfires. The environment's backfiring on us because we didn't approach it right. Yeah. The economy's backfiring on us, Marriage and family's backfiring on us. A lot of things are backfiring on us, and it all boils down to a particular vision or worldview. Do we understand what these things are? Do we understand what marriage is, what the human person is? What's our view of the human person? What's our view of the environment? What's our view of finances? What are those things really? Look at those things, sort of decode them, let them speak to us, and then approach them according to what they are. When we do that, things go well. And it can be summed up in one word: honesty.
Honesty. We have a slide, it's number 6, Sherry. It shows the flooding. Mm-hmm. And this slide that you gave us, this image that you gave us on the flooding, was this before you started your activity at your church?
Yes, it was just before. Okay. This goes to show you the kind of challenge that we had there with the water.
And it's on the screen right now. Explain what we're seeing.
Well, our property, actually looking across what would be the front lawn, what used to be the front lawn of our property, it goes to show you can see how much water our property had to accommodate in that region. When we bought our property to build our church, part of our property is almost like the bowl of a sink. It has a low spot, which for many years was a problem with water, and because it would collect water from literally from every direction, north, south, east, and west. Ultimately, water would flow across that part of the property. Well, we knew this when we bought the property, but we knew that we would do something very good with this. And this goes to show, this is after one of those heavy springtime rains. I took this picture. You can see how much water would come through our property, how much we had to accommodate. Well, before we put the prairie in, this is the type of water you would be dealing with. And now, once we restored the indigenous vegetation, you don't have this kind of flooding anymore.
And then on slide image number 8, we have a prairie showing the native plants.
Yes.
And is that in the same area?
Yeah, it's the same area.
Same area. And
just a couple years later.
Couple years later.
Mm-hmm.
And now.
You see, and it's interesting because what you're seeing there, a few weeks before, people oftentimes ask, how do you steward this property? How do you take care of this? And I say, well, I just light a match and walk away from it. That's literally what you do. You do controlled burns.
Controlled burns.
What you're seeing in this picture right now, about 5-6 weeks prior to that, was burned to the ground. Burned to the ground. We didn't put fertilizer on it. We didn't do anything to it. We just burn it. It's a controlled burn, and you let it go, and several weeks later, this is what you get.
And this is considered native vegetation?
Yeah, native vegetation. You see some of, for instance, the coneflowers there. And what's interesting is that throughout the season, it's very fascinating. Throughout the season, these certain vegetations will come in during their time for a month or 2 or 3, and then they'll die away, and then the next ones will come in. The prairie, the natural vegetation of this region, when you allow it to be, it's very, very organic, and it comes in just right on time. Each one comes in, does their thing, sort of takes a bow, disappears, and the next one takes its place, and it's a very organic, very exciting, very creative, interesting kind of process.
And in image number 9, we have another image of a prairie also, and I think we have some flowers that.
Yeah, there's a little more of a close-up of the coneflowers. We have all kinds of the indigenous prairie flowers and grasses on our property, and there's a number of them. You've got the goldenrod, and the coneflowers, and the asters, and the the rye, the grasses, the variety of grasses and flowers, all which will come into their own at the particular season that they're supposed to. It'll be also very varied. In other words, the same things will not grow necessarily in the exact same spot each time. We have the compass plants, and there's just every time I go out there, there's almost always something new.
Yeah, and also, you know, water may be the most understood and misused
Yes.
of what we have here on the planet.
Yes, water is such a gift, you know, and unfortunately we see it as a problem.
Yes.
In the way we've developed and designed, unfortunately, the way we've developed a lot of cities and developments, now water is a problem. You know, it's just something we want to pass off to the next guy, you know.
Yes.
Well, we say in our church, water is not a problem, it's a gift, or it's an opportunity. Water is a holy thing. Water is a blessed thing. And so we respect it, we try to utilize it for what it is, to be honest to what it is, and it becomes this this great gift. It's beautiful. Yes, it can be destructive and so on, but that's largely due to the human, man's doing and undoing,
Yes.
the environment.
And at your parish, what you did in your landscaping, you somehow control that water when it passes through your land.
Yes, in fact, our property is on Will Cook Road, which means two counties, Will Cook.
Yes.
Which means that we had to accommodate to the wishes of two counties in terms of the water flow, because there's a major water flow that comes right through our property, and Will County wanted to sort of course, pass a lot of it on across the street to Cook County. Cook County only wanted to accommodate a certain amount of it,
Yes.
so we had to engineer this sort of water management plan so that we would comply with what the civil governments wanted, the two counties, but also what would be good for the neighborhood, the neighbors, the environment. So it was a rather complex design, but we did it, and in fact we received, as we did today, awards.
Yes.
And it has really contributed to the community.
And this is where you they have green roofs, permeable paving, native plants. Where if you have a little wetland on your property,
Right.
as the water moves through your property, it removes the pollution, the
Yes.
pollutant in the
Yes,
water.
exactly, because it allows instead of a water rushing off and taking pollutants and then flooding, it allows the water to meander and to give it enough time to kind of soak back in the ground or
Yes.
sink, going into the ground, into the aquifers, to be cleansed by the root systems of the tall grasses and so on, and then to again be used as it evaporates back up and recycles, and this beautiful, this cycle that was designed by God. And if you just let that be, respect it, and try to accommodate it and let it be, then you're going to have good results.
And this is where you're using green practices.
Yes.
At your church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, combination. And in green practice we have the water environment, the energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's green practice, and
Yes.
I think you're trying to implement every aspect of a green practice
Right.
in your facilities.
In so much as we can, little by
Yeah.
little. There's no, we want to avoid again extremes and so on, but we do what is best, what we can do, and we do it in a kind of an integrated way, a kind of a balanced way, and it grows out of our fundamental spirituality, just about being honest to life, honest to reality.
And your natural setting, your nature setting out there,
Mm-hmm.
where a person could walk
Yes.
through your gardens,
Mm-hmm.
your patio, and just meditate.
Yes, and we get a lot of people, a lot of visitors coming, and we certainly welcome them. That's why we did it. Again, we did it as a community service, certainly for ourselves as well, but as a community service, we welcome people, and people do find it to be like an outdoor classroom.
And I think that's why when they come and visit your facilities, the groups that come, maybe some of their members just come just to meditate. If they feel trouble in their lives,
Mm-hmm.
they could come and walk through your facilities and meditate. Have you ever thought of putting music at every location?
Well, I have to admit, there's sort of a lot of a natural music that's out there. With the crickets and the birds and the frogs jumping in the pond. And
I'm just wondering why here in the United States we're so obsessed with turf grass.
Yes.
And turf grass is not a native plant.
No.
It was imported.
No.
But every spring we get out in our lawns and buy herbicides, pesticides, fertilizer to make sure that our turf grass grows green, and then we water it, and
we want it to grow 1 inch.
1 inch.
So we can cut it down on Saturday morning.
Yes.
And put all that fertilizer back on, so it grows another inch, and cut it down the next week. What point? Think about that. What is the point of that? You know, it's like, why don't we just put carpeting everywhere? You know, you're right. We have this sort of a love affair with this with turf grass, and I mean, it has a certain place, but it's just a matter of you get locked into a certain view, and you don't realize until you step back and you're shown a different alternative. And then when you look at what you've been doing, you say to yourself, my goodness, you know, this is ridiculous. But you don't see it at first. You have to wait. You have to kind of go through this bit of an epiphany, I guess. And that's part of what we're about. Our church is trying to help others to kind of pull back the veil, you know, and look and reconfigure their concept of beauty and landscaping according to what is, again, more honest, more natural.
Yes.
And pretty soon you'll think to yourself, well, this is ridiculous, this turf grass. You know, how could I have ever been so devoted to it?
You know, I'm just wondering why we as people think we know better than God. I mean, where that philosophy comes from? You know, because
you nailed the problem. You nailed the question.
I mean, we're
exactly
so intelligent in 2008 now.
Yeah.
We have higher education. We're sending people to the outer space, and we know better than God how to take care of the environment. Why is that, Father Loya?
I think it's a persistent phenomenon that goes all the way back from the beginning, the original sin. I call it like the Tower of Babel phenomenon.
The Tower of Babel? Okay.
It's the Tower of Babel. We just keep repeating these things that you see from the time immemorial in the Bible. You know, it's like it's our you know, from original sin, we would call it in the faith perspective. It's that pride, it's that arrogance, where we see what we can accomplish. Human beings, we're very capable, as you said, of accomplishing things. Well, we get real proud about that, and we think that we can do anything. Or just because we can do something, that we should do something. That's another part of it too. Just because we can do something, you know, we can be pretty smart, invent things, and doesn't mean that we should do those things. And so we develop a kind of a, we always have had to battle since the beginning, since Adam and Eve, that sort of an arrogance, as it were. And time and time again, it'll backfire on us. So that's why everything boils down to, and again, I'm not just being biased, but I guess I am, but everything does boil down to a fundamental spirituality.
Yes. So how do we find this balance between extremes? You know, that has to be the key.
Yes, it is. I think if we look at life, all of life, in terms of, I'm going to call it, the word would be mystery.
Mystery?
Or mystically. It means that it's two things that seem to be paradox, or two complementary things that sort of come together, and we sort of live where they intersect. In other words, something is not this or that. You notice we always do. We're Democrat, we're Republican, we're conservative, we're liberal, we're this, we're that. We're right, we're wrong, we're black and white. We swing between dualisms in our culture. And I think we have to train ourselves to think more in terms of mystery. Mystery means you can bring two things that belong together. The answer is as they come together, and the answer is right there where they intersect. So something can be, just like with the environment, yes, we can have development. We certainly want human beings to have what they need in terms of buildings and roads and things. But we can also bring in the other part of it with the environment. Now, you wed those two things together, and you've got the mystery, the mystical approach, which takes two things together, and it lives right there. It's not either or. You know, it's both and.
And so you know, in the Bible, in the first book, in Genesis, I think it's the first line, God created the heavens and the earth. And then as we move down that chapter, and he put man as the caretaker.
Yes, exactly.
And I think those two verses determines that, yes, the religion groups here throughout the world should start taking a more lead role.
Absolutely. As you said, what the Bible said, that the human person was put there, we were created last, we were put on earth to steward, to be custodians of the garden, as it were.
Yes.
You know, to care for the earth. The earth is the garden of the universe. And we, the human person, was chosen, designated to be the gardener of the garden.
And, you know, as I mentioned, I deal with the water environment. But I feel that we have to spread out and deal with how we have to change our lives
Yes.
in the way we eat, the way we buy our food at grocery store, because that would have an effect on how the farmers grow their crops.
Exactly.
That would have an effect on our farm bill.
Yep.
The clothes we buy.
Precisely.
Anything we do on Earth, when we start getting up in the morning, during the day, and during we're sleeping, will have an effect on the whole environment. And if we don't get together,
right,
we won't be around to enjoy the planet.
And when we are around, it won't be such a happy existence, you know. And you hit it right in the head again. It's that you're talking about, that integration. It's both and. It's everything together. It's not just this or that. It's everything together, and it all works together. And so it's a fundamental sort of worldview, a fundamental way to approach everything, and it's all about being conscious about being what we're doing and what we're not doing. Are we honest to creation? Are we honest to this earth? How does this earth work? How does the principles of nature work? Work with them. Work with them. And from, as you say, from the way we eat, the way we sleep, the way we do everything, the way we approach everything, and that's where you'll get the balance. That's where you get the best for all of society, for the good of everyone.
And I think the environment might be the one item where everyone has to come together. If there's a group out there that hates another group,
right,
those two groups have to get together, because they will not survive.
Exactly.
And they won't be around long enough to keep on hating each other.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, right.
and so, but if they get together to try and solve the environment, then at one point they may start loving each other.
Exactly. You're right. I think the environment could be a tremendous unifying factor. God always works miracles. He writes straight with crooked lines, and the environmental challenges that we face today just might be something God's going to use to bring humanity together. Say, look, despite what we believe are our differences, we all live on this one same planet, and we all have to work together, and we can do it.
Yeah, we talk about global warming, climate change. You pick up the paper, the air pollution, any kind of thing that's affecting a human being, and yet no one knows how to solve it. But yet there are reports out there.
Right.
And I think that's where all the groups have to come together to solve it. And I know that the religious group has to play a major role.
Right. Every religious group, because it's just a matter of, in a sense, it's like a glorified common sense.
Yes.
It's just the right thing to do.
And I think you and I are going to work together.
Yes, I hope so.
And see how we could bring all these groups together.
Good.